Good morning, YouTube. Let's talk about this monstrosity and the way that it's mounted, because I'm having some movement going on back here and I need to fix that.
What have you been up to?
I've been riding on a daydream.
So previous videos I've talked about this, actually probably 2 or 3 videos, and as always we put the links in our store for the purchase of these items. So what are these items first? Well, you need to go back and look at the video that I talk about this, which I'll put the link up above here. You'll see it pop up. Just click on that video link. You can go back and see what I did here. And basically what this is with all the traveling that we're doing, we need to make sure that we have a good constant power source for our electronics. The deal is voltage, not amperage so much, but voltage is what ruins motors on compressors, the air conditioning compressors more than anything else, and of course other sensitive electronics. But I'm going to talk about low voltage. What this does is it will steal some of the amperage and convert it over to voltage. Now I'm mainly talking about the item on the bottom right now. It will protect any low voltage by shutting off. Once you get below 104 volts, it basically says that's too low, I can't do anything with it, and I'm going to shut it off. However, anything above 104 volts, but not full voltage, well, you should be running anywhere from 110 on the low side, on the very low side, but around 115, 120 volts is what should be done. This thing will steal some of that amperage that you're not using and convert it over to the voltage to get you to the number that you're at. Now, if you have too much voltage, if you have a spike or something, of course, this will shut off also. This is a Hughes AutoFormer. It's a voltage regulator, and it protects the electrical system. And it's pretty simple. This is designed to sit outside on the pedestal or near the pedestal, and just have you plug in this first to the campground, and then you plug in your power cord. Well, I don't like it outside because it isn't 100% weatherproof. So they do make a cover for it. Again, that's something that's in our store, and I actually have the cover, but I've never used it outdoors. There's people that have rigs set up to, they put them in 5-gallon buckets that are protected with lids and stuff like that. But I don't care for the fact that it's kind of expensive, and I don't want the prying eyes to decide that they want it instead of me and take it. So that's why it's mounted inside here. Now you can buy one that's hardwired. My problem is if there's a failure of this device of any kind, which I haven't seen any indication that that's a problem, but there is a protective circuit board inside there that is kind of like a big fuse, and if there's a major problem, it protects itself by causing that circuit board to fail. Well, I wanted to make sure that I still had the ability to get power from the campground if something like that happened. So that's why it's wired inside here. Now the piece up on top, that's just a surge protector, Power Watchdog surge protector. The best part about that is it gives Bluetooth capability, so you can see what's going on, how many volts are coming in, how many amps, on what line. And the best part is if you pay for electricity at your campsite, like we currently are, it will keep track of how much electricity you use. So if you know the kilowatt hour price that's in the area, you'll know how much money they should be charging you when you leave. You don't have to go out and read the meter or worry about the meter being off a little bit. So again, you can buy this in a hardwired configuration, but again, this has a protective circuit board inside, and if there is a major failure of the electronics, it'll protect your coach and itself, and that circuit board will fail, so you'd have to replace it. So again, not wanting to be without power, I mounted it inside for security reasons. And that's why you have these cords going all different ways, because what I did is take the outside power cord and basically make that connection inside so that the surge protector and the AutoFormer can plug in directly to it. Now when we get somewhere and we're going to use our generator, that was the other reason that I have it set up this way and not hardwired, we can unplug all of this because the generator is pretty darn safe. And I can just plug in this cord here directly into that socket, and it bypasses all this because this stuff wouldn't understand the generator anyways. It would be too confusing, really. I mean, it would try to make it work, but again, it's not what it's designed for. So what I'm getting at here is, now that you know what this is, or give you a refresher, I have it mounted to the floor here, and this is a mount that we put together just out of some parts. I just screwed it to the floor. I didn't know exactly how to do it. I knew I wanted it to be held in place, and you could see it runs through the handle there, but it's still allowing movement. This is on the back of the rig. This you can see out the window here, back of the rig, and it allows it to bounce around still. So instead of screwing around and trying to make my own mount, I went ahead and I bought the mount that is designed for this. Now you can buy this in a 30 amp configuration if you only have a 30 amp coach or a 30 amp rig, whatever that may be. Our old travel trailer was 30 amp, but this one's a 50 amp. However, they make a bracket specifically designed for this to hold it in place, and it can be set up for either the 30 amp Hughes AutoFormer, which is a little bit smaller than this one, or this 50 amp AutoFormer. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this strap thing that I put together, which has done a fair job, but I want to set it up to, with the right bracket. So let me show you what that looks like when I get it out of the box. This is what the mounting bracket looks like, and you get a couple configurations. You can actually wall mount it if you want to, or you can put it on the floor. Well, of course we're going to put it on the floor. It comes in this box, and once it's opened up, all you really need is a screwdriver, a flat Phillips screwdriver, to assemble everything. But here you can see the brackets. They're marked. These are for 50 amp use. This is for a 50 amp use. But these two brackets, those are for 30 amp. So I'm going to go ahead and place these off to the side. They're going to give you nuts plus one. You only need 4. They're going to give you these little countersunk screws. They're going to give you 5, but you only need 4, so we got an extra one there. And then the screws, basically to mount this thing pretty solid wherever it's going to be. They also give you some rubber feet here. Now, I wasn't going to do like a how-to step-by-step to put this together, but there was a few things that I wanted you to be aware of that I'd point out here. Number one, the brackets on the bottom, or the brackets in general, the cushion's always going to go towards the device. It's not to cushion the floor. It's the cushion or the wall where it mounts to. It's going to cushion the AutoFormer from being vibrated. You want to protect that as much as possible. The other thing is these countersunk screws. Best to put those in first. Don't over tighten them because there is still going to be some movement. And then the 50 amp or 30 amp, whichever one you're using, brackets, they're going to go across the back here, you can see. And those nuts, in the diagrams it shows that they have washers. However, I think they've changed the design and they didn't change the instructions, because these are serrated on the back side. And that's not to be used with washers. That's to be used to lock the nut in place once it's tight. So if you think you're missing washers, you're not. It's just a new design. So once this is tightened as such, the rest of it is basically the hold down brackets. Now the hold down brackets can, obviously be removed for reasons of extracting the AutoFormer if you need to take it, disconnect it, or move it or whatever. So they're just going to go on kind of last. And then these flip latches are adjustable for tension reasons, so you can flip them up and put a good tension, in the bolt as such. It would be kind of like that, which I can show you that once it's all together there. But the last thing you need to do is your mounting screws. Now in my case, I'm just going to use 4 of them for the floor. I'm not going to put any in the wall. I could put a couple just to play it safe, but I really don't need to. And these rubber feet that they give you, there's going to be some double-sided adhesive on here. This is 3M tape. Now you can do it a couple different ways. If you wanted, you could mount, the tape first so the holes line up. That's probably the easiest way to do it. Or you could drill, or I should say put the screw through the hole, which is basically going to be these holes here, which they make access to. And I should get one lined up for you real quick. There you go. So that you can put it all together and then put the screws in to hold it into the floor, which is nice. Pretty decent engineering as far as the thinking of this. But the rubber feet, that's to protect your floor. So make sure that you put this waffle pattern on the downside. And again, the double-sided tape here, this 3M tape, that's to hold it and keep it there. So the next time you take the screw out, these feet will stay on. Here's the final product and what it looks like. Very secure, as you can imagine. And again, I only have 4 screws that are holding it in on the floor, but rock solid. Adjust your over center latches to how you may need. Once you get it to where it's just about the right tension, you can see they just flip up and lock in place. So to remove it, it's a little bit easier. Now, there is a chance that if you want, and you don't want to mount it inside your rig and have to do the wiring and everything, but you want it protected outside your rig, I'm sure you could probably mount it outside your rig on a bumper or something like that. What I'm talking about is the bracket. You can mount the bracket, and then when you get stopped, you could put your AutoFormer in the bracket. Again, you got to protect it from weather. It don't like rain and stuff like that. But the nice thing about this is that strap that I had rigged up before, I could never see whenever it was boosting, when it was lit. I had to move the strap. Yours is going to look much nicer than this because, of course, I have the power watchdog up on top, and I do have it to where I want to be able to disconnect it and reconnect it as needed. So that's why this wiring looks the way that it does. But this is the finished product. I'll put the links down below in the store, in our Amazon store. Just click the Amazon store link, and you'll see the AutoFormer, of course, the power watchdog. I mean, if anything, out of all this stuff that I have here, you have a 50 amp or a 30 amp rig, get the smart surge protector from Hughes, the power watchdog, because it is a godsend for me to be able to tell what my amperage is at the campground and how much we're pulling inside the rig. You'll be surprised how much you're at or close to the 50 amp mark if you're running an ice maker, both air conditioners, maybe the hot water tank element, and then you do something as simple as like turn on a coffee pot. Man, that's a lot. Same with turning on the microwave then. So out of all the things that I'm showing you here, the power watchdog is a no-brainer. It's one of the best ones out there. It does light up the park pretty well, so make sure you utilize some sort of a securement, and that's what I'm showing you here. This comes with a locking thing for a lantern. You want to lock it up because, again, this face is a bright white. Has a code on it. If there's any problems, you can read the code. Of course, the app will tell you. If you have it turned on your phone, you'll get an alert what's happening, and we've gotten plenty of alerts. The other thing is real nice, like in our case, it was late at night and the campground power went out, but we didn't know at first if it was something in our rig, if we had a problem with something in our rig, something out on the power pole, just us, or the entire park. And of course, I just opened the app and there was no alerts or anything like that. It just said power disconnected. Well, if the power is disconnected, then that means either the AutoFormer in our case had protected itself by shutting off the power, or somebody flipped the switch outside, or the power went out in the park on the pole. So it was nice to know. And this was laying at bed late at night. I didn't even have to get out of bed. Heidi asked what was going on, and I said, yeah, there's a power outage. Must be in the park. And then, sure enough, a little bit later, this clicked over and power came back on again. So again, links are down in the store. I hope this helps out. And as always, guys, we hope to see you out there. Bye.